So last meeting, the group to discuss the verbal communications, but this time we will discuss the communication skills, which is the non-verbal communications for tour guiding. So verbal communication, it is often referred to as a body of language, encompasses all forms of communications that don't involve spoken or written words. It includes facial expressions, gestures, postures, eye contact, tone of voice, and even the use of space. So, the non-verbal communications is also like a hidden language that well understand instinctively. We can sense someone's happiness through their facial expressions if there's through their smiles, and also we can sense yung kausap natin, sense natin sa kausap natin kung sila ba ay galit or masaya through their facial expressions and body language and to their postures. So for examples, ikaw yung you as a tour guide, diba? You as a tour guide, and then masasense ng mga tourists na ikaw ay galit or masaya or komportable ka sa mga kasama mo through your body language. Kumbaga, parang kasi yung katawan natin ay may sariling language para makapag-communicate sa ibang tao. In that case, nagkakaroon tayo ng smooth communications, and also malalaman din nila kung paano ba yung mga tourists na magiging comfortable sa kanila mga tour guide.
So, we have different types of nonverbal communication. First is facial expression. A tour guide's facial expression are vital for conveying enthusiasm, interest, and a genuine desire for sharing their knowledge. Yung simple pong pag-smile natin can make visitor feel welcome and engaged. While a frown might make them feel uncomfortable or unwelcome, a tour guide should be mindful of using facial expression to enhance the experience of the group, mirroring the excitements about the tour's content. Next naman po natin ay gestures. A tour guide use gestures to emphasize points, guide attention, and create a more engaging atmosphere. For example, a tour guide might point a specific building habang ina-explain niya po yung history, or use their hands para po ma-point po yung isang historical object para po mas maging engaging yung isang tour. They might also use gestures to signal transition between section of a tour to encourage interaction from the group. Gesture can help make the information more memorable, and mas nagiging dynamic po siya, and mas nagiging engaging po yung experience po ng mga tourists or ng mga visitors.
So now, let's talk about the paralinguistic communication. Paralinguistic communication is a crucial aspect of nonverbal communication, especially for tour guides. For tour guides, mastering paralinguistic communication is essential. Why? Because it adds depth, emotions, and engagement to your presentation, creating a more memorable experience for your audience. So I have 3 examples. Firstly, is a tone of voice. When describing a breathtaking view, use a more animated and enthusiastic tone to convey your own excitement. The second one is pitch. Use a higher pitch when introducing a new point or a surprising fact. Lower your pitch when sharing a historical event or a poignant story. And the last one is volume. Speak louder when addressing a larger group or sharing a story that requires attention. Lower your volume when sharing a personal anecdote or a more intimate detail. So always remember that by mastering these nonverbal communication techniques, tour guides can create a more engaging, informative, and enjoyable experience for their guests.
Body language and posture plays a crucial role in communication. It conveys emotion and attitudes. Since the 1970s, research on body language expanded, even though media might have often exaggerated its meanings, especially regarding defensive postures like arm and leg crossing. While these gestures suggest feelings, studies indicate that Body language is more subtle and more complex than earlier assumptions.
Proxemics. Proxemics refers to how we use personal space when interacting with others. It's a type of nonverbal communication that involves the distance we keep from people. This distance can vary based on things like social rules, the situation, our personality, and how well we know the person. For example, when talking to someone casually, we usually stand about 18 inches to 4 feet apart. But when speaking to a large crowd, we tend to keep about 10 to 12 feet away.
Eyes gaze. Looking, staring, and blinking can also be important nonverbal behaviors. When people looking encounter people or things but they like, the rate of blinking increases and pupils dilate. Looking at another person can indicate a range of emotion including hostility, interest, and actions. Eyes gaze. So, pagtitig o pagtingin. Ang paraan ng pagtitig, pagtingin at pagkurap ng mata ay mahalagang bahagi ng body language. Halimbawa, kapag may gusto tayong isang tao o bagay, mas mabilis tayong kumukurap at lumalaki ang ating mga mata. Ang pagtitig sa isang tao ay maaring magpakita ng iba't ibang emosyon tulad ng interes, galit o paghanga. Halimbawa, interes kapag may gusto kang tao, madalas mo siyang tinitingnan. Galit, kapag galit ka, mataralim ang iyong tingin. Paghanga, kapag mahinahangan ka, napapatitig ka ng matagal.
Here are some more about haptics. Type of touch. Number 1 is physical guidance, guiding tourists through physical contact. 2. Comforting touch, providing reassurance through gentle touch. Number 3. Attention, getting touch, getting someone's attention through a light tap. Important of haptics. Number 1. Build trust. Physical touch can establish trust and rapport. 2. Conveys emotion. Touch can express emotions like empathy and support. 3. Enhances experience. Haptics can make interactions more engaging and memorable.
So one of the last types of nonverbal communication is appearance. Our choice of color, clothing, hairstyle, and other factors affecting appearance are also considered a means of nonverbal communication. So when we say appearance, it refers how we present ourselves to the world, and it speaks volume even before we utter a word. So the colors we choose to wear, the style of our clothing, even our hairstyle, they all send silent messages. In terms of color, it evokes strong emotional responses. So it is important for tour guides to choose color that align with the mood they want to create, because colors have a powerful influence on our emotions and perceptions. In terms of clothing choices, it reflects our personality and values. So, if a tour guide who dresses in a way that reflects their personality, it can make them more relatable and approachable. Appearance can significantly impact how people perceive and judge us, even unconsciously. So, a well-presented tour guide, for example, may be perceived as more knowledgeable and trustworthy. So, it's crucial for tour guides to carefully consider their appearance. It's not merely about looking good, it's about presenting themselves in a manner that facilitates connection with their audience and foster trust. So let's move to reason why nonverbal communication expect a vital part in communication. Nonverbal communication is present everywhere. So because communication, it's always present, influencing every interaction. So it's like a silent language that speaks volumes even before we utter a word. Nonverbal communication is everywhere. It's how we use our bodies, our voices, and even our surroundings to communicate. A tour guide to stand tall with a confident posture, they project an image of authority and knowledge. Or a guide who speaks softly and uses hand gesture to emphasize a point. So they create a more intimate and engaging atmosphere.
The next one is we have they are fused into every single communication show. Nonverbal communication isn't separate from what we say. It's completely mixed in with it. So to communicate well, everything needs to work together. Our body language, how we sound, what we wear, how close we stand to people when we speak, and even the environment around us. So let's just imagine that there's a tour guide who loves their job but looks bored. So even if they are talking great, their body language says something different. So for sure, the tourists will probably notice the mismatch and feel confused or unconvinced kahit na maganda pa yung mga sinasabi ni tour guide. So the message get lost because the body language contradicts the verbal message.
Created communication can similarly have non-verbal qualities. Messages and web visits empower individuals the contrasting option to change content, literary style shades, stationery, emoticons, and capitalization with a particular ultimate objective to get non-verbal prompts into a verbal medium. It refers sa kung paano napasama ang written communication like emails, texts, and online posts sa non-verbal elements. Kahit itong mga mediums na ito ay verbal, pwede tayong gumamit ng various techniques to convey non-verbal cues tulad ng emojis and emoticons. These visual symbols allows us na express yung emotions natin like happiness, sadness, or anger, na katulad ng mga facial expression natin kapag nakikipag-usap tayo through face-to-face communication. Then, capitalization, yung paggamit ng all caps sa mga text messages, ay maaring isipin ng kausap mo sa messaging apps na galit ka or sumisigaw ka, while sa lowercase naman ay it indicate a more casual or intimate tone. Next is nonverbal communication is multifunctional. Nonverbal cues serve multiple purposes in communication. They can reinforce verbal messages like yung pagtango, while saying yes reinforces agreement or sumasang-ayon ka sa sinasabi ng kausap mo. Replace verbal messages like wave goodbye or pagkaway replaces the words goodbye. And express emotions like facial expression na nagpapakita ng happiness, sadness, etc. For example is during a job interview, yung candidate ay maaaring makipag-handshake and maintain eye contact to convey confidence and professionalism. Itong nonverbal behavior reinforces their verbal responses at nagpapakita ito na interested sila sa posisyon na ina-applyan nila. The next is many particular nonverbal diverts are secured, meanwhile in communication acts and empower the likelihood for synchronous messages to send and get. For example is face-to-face conversation of persons. Body language can signal their interest or disinterest in the topic. If someone leans forward and maintains eye contact, nagpapakita ito na interested sila sa topic. Kapag naman yung someone ay nakatingin sa kung saan-saan and cross their arms, means wala silang pake sa sinasabi or hindi sila interesado sa topic. These nonverbal cues provide immediate feedback, allowing for adjustment in the conversation. Then last one is nonverbal communication may outline a broad vernacular structure. It suggests that nonverbal communication can shape and influence our understanding of language and culture. Different cultures have distinct nonverbal norms which can affect how we interpret and use language. For example, in some culture, yung direct eye contact ay sign of respect, while sa iba naman, maaring yun ay kinukonsider nila as rude or pambabastos. This cultural differences in nonverbal communication can influence how people interact and interpret the meaning of words.
Smiling, crying, coordinating, stroking, and glaring are non-verbal practices that are used and understood by tourists, travelers, any individual regardless of their nationality. Means ang pagngiti, pag-iyak, pag-coordinate, paghimas, at pagtingin ng mga malalim ay mga sinyalis ng mga kilos na naunawaan kahit hindi direktang sabihin. Like, smiling. Ang pagngiti ay isang sinyalis ng kasiyahan, pagiging palakaibigan, o pagsang-ayon. Halimbawa, kapag isang turista ay pumasok sa isang tindahan at bumuti sa tindera at nakita niyang siya ay maghalang at may buting intention. Sunod is crying or pag-iyak. Ang pag-iyak ay nagpahayag ng lungkot, sakit, at mga minsan ay labis na saya. Halimbawa, ang isang batang umiiyak sa airport dahil naiwan niya ang kanyang laruan, kahit hindi naman sabihin ng bata, naiintindihan pa rin natin. And lastly is non-verbal sign allow the most basic form of communication when verbal communication is not effective due to language barriers. Means, ang mga hindi verbal na senyales ay nagbibigay daan sa pinapakita ng pangunahing uri ng komunikasyon kapag hindi epektibo ang pagsisalita dahil sa hadlang sa wika. Halimbawa, pagtango at pag-iling kapag nasa ibang bansa at hindi alam ang wika, sa pagtango is yes, at pag-iling is no naman. Ito yung madaling paraan upang sagutin ang isang tanong. Halimbawa din, ang isang turista hindi marunong magsalita ng Thai, ay tinanong isang tindero kung gusto niya ng spicy food, tumango siya bilang sagot na kapag hindi, ganun lang. And that's all for me. Thank you.